If you are stuck and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to launch? Where's my content? What kind of audience? I just want to take all of those things, put them in a box, and set that box on fire. Hi, I'm Gina Bianchini, and this is People Magic, where I am showing you the absolute easiest way to create a $1 million community. Now, you are joining me in the first episode of season 2. And I want to kick off season 2 with a message I got from a friend of mine, Rob Cressy, after he had listened to all of season 1.
Gina, happy Monday. Want to send some good vibes your way. Over the last 4 days, they went through the entire 9-module People Magic video series. Awesome job there. Everything you guys share is world-class and great, but we both know the commitment of what it takes to not only put together the community and run it, but also to consistently bring in new members. I feel like that's something that's probably top of mind for everybody. How do I make more money? How do I get more people into my world? How do I get new members? But one of the things that I've learned along the way is all around so many people get stuck at 0. And things are great 1 year from now or 2 years from now when you've got this thing cooking. And you talk about, hey, let's get your first 30 members in there. But I know deep inside of the people is the fear of what if I build it and no one shows up?
I am so grateful for Rob, because in all of the questions around how am I going to get new members and how do I make more money and how do I do this is the fundamental fear that is preventing you from putting yourself on a path to $1 million, which is, oh my gosh, what if I host a party and no one shows up? And because no one wants to necessarily say that out loud, it shows up in a lot of different ways. It shows up in, oh, I need X before I can do Y. I need an audience before I can have a community. I need an email list before I can have a community. If I have 100 members on an email list, I need 1,000 members on an email list. If I have 1,000 members, I actually need 10,000. If I have 10,000, I need 100,000. There is safety in feeling like I'm preparing for my business. I'm preparing for bringing people together and providing the value that comes from creating a community of people who are on the same path. But the reality is that you can create a valuable community that you can charge a high ticket for, the smaller it is. We have communities on Mighty Networks that have 10 people in them, and the hosts are charging $50,000 for 4 months. What is a community with 10 people? It's a mastermind. It's a mastermind. And for some reason, the term community makes someone think that you need to have hundreds of thousands of people to make it valuable, and that you could only charge $9 or what Netflix charges. I want to disavow you of all of these false beliefs. These are myths. I have the data behind me that I can give you permission today that just with your network alone, just with your people alone and the people that your people know, you can create a community with just 10 people, and you can charge a premium for bringing them together. So what's the secret? What's the secret? The secret is people magic and the 9 simple things that are really that easy. So many people get stuck at 0. If you are stuck at 0, first of all, I just want to grab you and say, all right, we've got this together. We're going to go do this together. You are not alone. And when you're starting with 0, the single best thing that you can do is get really, really clear on your ideal member. Who is the person that needs a community the most right now? And who are you the most excited to bring together? When you can answer that question with the same person, with the same profile, you've got something. And you've got something incredibly special. So if you are stuck and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to launch? Where's my content? What kind of audience? I just want to take all of those things, put them in a box, and set that box on fire. Because the only thing that matters is who you are bringing together and finding the most motivated people to meet and build relationships with each other. People who are on the same path, specifically people who are in the same transition. That is literally 90% of what you need to create a successful $1 million business today. It's not about your content. It's not about your ad funnel. It's not about your video sales letter. It's not about your social media following. It's not about the number of email addresses that you have. You can start with your network, to your people, the people that your people know. And as you start to bring together those first 10 people, the people that those 10 people know. People don't believe me because most of us, if we're aspiring entrepreneurs or if we're business owners who are spending a lot of our time on, whether it's Twitter or whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's Instagram or whether it's, the 47 newsletters you're getting all around business ownership or entrepreneurship, it all makes it so much harder than it needs to be because, number one, as people, we are drawn to the stories, experiences, and ideas of other people. We want to learn from other people. We want to build relationships with other people. Value comes from relationships. It doesn't come from content. And yet, if you listen to all the gurus who are out there, they're like, where are you building your content? Where are your lead magnets? Where is more content? You need to be posting on 6 different platforms 5 to 10 times a day. And by the way, you need to learn all of these different video styles and text styles and all this stuff. How do I know this? Because this is what the gurus are telling me. I've hired them. I know what is out there and what I'm quote unquote supposed to do. And here's the thing that I know. If you would drop me anywhere today and asked, okay, Gina, what is the fastest way to $10,000 a month in revenue? All of that audience, funnels, social media posts, all of that is noise. The thing that I would do is start with, who do I know? What transition am I the most excited to bring people together around today? How do I help people build to their best year ever? How do I go and take the simple formula of a big purpose, we bring together so that we can, and start to just bring together 10 people? Start to bring together those 10 people to bring value to each other and recruit new people in. That is what I would do. The rest is noise. Now, is this a controversial perspective? Absolutely. There is no question that this is controversial. However, I also have the data of about 1 million, no joke, 1 million online courses, challenges, paid memberships, and events behind me. And what I know to be true is that we are in a moment of fundamental change. Why? Because the software that is driving things like connections between members, the ability to build relationships between people, it is getting more and more sophisticated. And because of that, it is getting easier and easier for you to create a business that is fundamentally based on creating relationships between people, or what I call people magic. And because of this, it is more important for you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, to understand people's motivations, especially people's motivations when they're in a transition, because when someone is in a transition, they are most likely to pay money. They are most likely to join something. They are most likely to contribute. They are most likely to bring in new people who might be going through that same transition as well. And so this is different. This is controversial. I am not saying things that you're going to hear from a lot of other people who, even when they are believers in community, they're giving really bad advice. Like the difference between finding your niche and choosing somebody in a transition. I've now taught this to over 10,000 people. And what I will tell you is when you focus on a transition, you will be successful faster. Full stop. The whole riches are in the niches. Like, I get it. It sounds good. Everybody else is saying it. You're not going to get fired from being an aspiring guru if you say those things. But the reality is it's still too hard for people. So that's why I'm even doing this podcast, because I want more people to see the power of starting with somebody in a transition, especially when you're starting from scratch. So if you are sitting there at zero and aren't sure where to start, or finding yourself making those, I'm not going to call them excuses, but they look and sound a lot like excuses around, oh, well, first I need an audience. First I need a list. First I need all of these other things. I want to point out that you're in a transition too. And the transition that you are in is someone who is motivated to go from 0 to 10. That's all you have to do. You don't have to worry about what happens at 100. Just go from 0 to 10. And you're one of the people that I'm making this podcast for, because I want to help you step by step, action by action, go from 0 with your people and your people's people, and show you how easy it is to pitch your new community, which again can be monetized through online courses, paid memberships, challenges, and events. And the power of building a digital business by bringing people together, introducing them, making it really clear that we are going to go through this transition together. We are going to be able to have our best year ever together. If you're in that transition, I am so glad you are listening, because that's what People Magic is here to do. I'm Gina Bianchini. Thank you for tuning in. This is People Magic. Thank you for being a part of People Magic. If you want more of a deep dive in any of these topics, but certainly having the framework of People Magic Profit, head on over to the website. The link is in the show notes. Have your own burning question about creating People Magic? Well, I want to answer it. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to just drop your question in the review section wherever you're listening to this podcast, and keep tuning in. As business owners, as entrepreneurs, yes, we are making things up as we go along, but the more that you have that clarity of your North Star, you are clear on where you want to go and what's important to you. Hey, I'm Gina Bianchini, and this is People Magic, where I show you the absolute easiest way to create a $1 million community.
Hi, Gina. I'm a small business owner and I'm having a difficult time setting goals for myself. I'm not really sure how to measure success when I'm kind of making everything up as I go.
I love this question. So it turns out I wrote an entire book on purpose. And I think some of the things that I captured in the book, Purpose, How to Design a Community and Change Your Life, are absolutely relevant when it comes to goals and goal setting. So here's what I want to encourage you to do. Number one, carve out 30 minutes, either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, wherever you can get a sort of a quiet space to be able to do what I like to call the Purpose 30. And it's 30 minutes for 30 days. And all you're going to do is find your favorite beverage, have your favorite beverage, and paper and pen. So not your phone, not anything digital around. This is about pen and paper. What you're going to do is answer the simple question: what do I want to be able to do a year from now that I can't do today? As you take then the 30 minutes, and what I love to do, and what I found doing this Purpose 30 exercise for now about 6 years, because I just kept with it, is that the clearer you are in telling your future story, again, what does the world look like 12 months from now? What world am I living in? What am I able to do? Who am I surrounded by? What have I achieved? But also, who have I brought together? And what are they able to do a year from now that they're not able to do today? These are not typical questions when it comes to goals and goal setting, but here's why I love them. And I've tried it all. I have tried every framework for goals and goal setting. I'm like one of those A students that are like, oh, I'll try this. I'll try this. The reason I love the Purpose 30 and this whole concept of your future story is because, for me at least, but also about 10,000 other people who have been through this and looked at and started to take this Purpose 30 into their lives, is the clearer you are about your vivid picture of the future, the easier it is for you to make it a reality. As business owners, as entrepreneurs, yes, we are making things up as we go along, but the more that you have that clarity of your North Star, you are clear on where you want to go and what's important to you. What's nice about the Purpose 30 is what tends to happen in those 30 minutes is that you will go through a dip where it's like you could be sitting there staring at a blank piece of paper. It's happened to me many times. And just staying there, and this is why the drink is so important, just staying there with your thoughts, with no distractions, and essentially meditating on that question of what are you able to do a year from now that you're not able to do today? And what does your life look like a year from now that it doesn't look like today? It sets the stage for you to be able to start to then come back to, okay, what would I need to do today to get one step closer to that future story? And when you can then go into your day, or again, if you're a night owl, do this at night before you go to bed. The other thing that I've found as it relates to goals and goal setting is making sure that you have time set aside every week. I heard this early on and I just love this. Time every week set aside to review your progress. So much of goals and goal setting is about how you're looking forward. And if you notice in all of this, there's no to-do lists, because to-do lists are not about goals and goal setting. There's another place, another way of thinking about your to-do list, but it's not related to your goals. Your goals have got to ladder up to your future story, the world that you want to live in, the world that you want to help create and bring into existence, the people that you want to surround yourself with, the people that you want to help and have an impact on. This is the reason we're all here. This is how we create a valuable and intentional use of our time, talents, and energy while we are here on planet Earth. And the more that you can have clarity and it feels like you are living in the future, the more likely it's going to become your reality. And if you can, in parallel to that, set aside time each week to review what you accomplished, what risk you took, a fear you had that you overcame to try something new, even if it didn't work out. And use that time. I love to do it on Sundays, where as I'm thinking about the week, as I'm thinking about, the reflection on the week before, that's been a really good time. And I tend to not use more than 30 minutes to have that kind of review, but that's it. That's all you need. And then the last thing I would leave you with as it relates to goals and goal settings, especially as a business owner, is trust your gut, especially around 3 traps. So there are 3 traps that you can find yourself in as a business owner that are the most dangerous of any traps that you can possibly find. And what I have experienced is when I'm in one of these traps, my gut tells me I am in them. And now that I have a name for them, it's much easier for me to be like, this is the moment. And by the way, I'm about to tell you what the traps are. This is the moment where I am in X kind of trap or Y kind of trap. So what are the 3 traps? Number 1 is the complexity trap. So when you are trying to juggle too much stuff, when you are trying to set up, I need to have, this kind of page, and then I'm going to send people here, and then I'm going to do this, and you feel a little overwhelmed, that is a really good indication that you are in the complexity trap. You do not want to be in the complexity trap. The best solution for the complexity trap is to take a step back, go back to that future story, go back to those first principles and say, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? The more that you can carve out the time to get clear on why am I doing what I'm doing, the easier it is to see when you are in the complexity trap. The other thing is have your tribe. Have your community of other business owners who you can basically be like, hey, wait a second, I think I'm in the complexity trap. Can we talk about this? Can I kind of walk you through and see where we can simplify? The second trap is the knower trap. And the knower trap looks like this. But I know that this is exactly how I want to do it. This is exactly, and as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I'm supposed to have vision, and I'm supposed to stick with my vision when everybody's telling me no. Well, as somebody who spends a lot of time trying to bring things into the world that don't exist yet, here's what I know to be true, is that it's really important to have your future story, but stay loose and open to what you're learning in the moment so that you are not taken down by that knower trap. And finally, the victim trap. And this one's tough because there's been such, a negativity around, you're being a victim. You know what? Some days I feel sorry for myself. And some days you feel sorry for yourself. But the more that you stay, or I stay in the victim trap where it's about, I'm letting the world happen to me, or it's not fair, or easy for that person to go do that thing. They have X, Y, or Z going for them. And those are things that I don't have. Or, I don't have X kind of resources, or the software didn't do this, or whatever it is that you are listening to this right now and you're saying to yourself, well, that's easy for Gina to say because she's got X or Y or Z and I don't have any of those things. The longer and the more time you spend in the victim trap, the more that you are writing your own failure plan. And it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Is life fair? No. It's not. And at least for me, the sooner that I embrace that and the more that I stay in the world of life's not fair and what am I going to do about it? I have found that to be the most energizing, the most empowering, and the most fun. it's kind of fun to slay dragons. This idea that you're taking on big challenges in a world that is not fair. That's okay. That is okay. And so the more that you can navigate these traps by trusting your gut and knowing them, and when you're feeling off or you're feeling overwhelmed, again, that's typically the complexity trap. When you're dug in and feeling stubborn, when you're getting a lot of signal that the thing you're thinking is the right thing is not necessarily the right thing to be doing, and you're not listening to feedback or you're feeling defensive, that's typically the knower trap. And finally, when you're feeling sorry for yourself, that is the victim trap. None of the traps are going to get you where you want to go. None of the traps are going to allow you to create that future story for yourself, for your loved ones, for the people that you want to bring together and serve. And we're here for more than staying in the traps. We're here to have an impact with our time, talents, attention, and energy. And that's the power of seizing this moment to take that one small step forward, the one that you're afraid of, the one that feels the hardest, the one that feels the most uncertain. And I just want to thank you for taking that step and to say, again, through this microphone, sitting here recording this podcast, I've got your back and I'm proud of you for taking this step. I'm Gina Bianchini. Thanks for tuning in. This is People Magic. Thank you for being a part of People Magic. If you want more of a deep dive in any of these topics, but certainly having the framework of People Magic Profit, head on over to the website. The link is in the show notes. Have your own burning question about creating people magic? Well, I want to answer it. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to just drop your question in the review section wherever you're listening to this podcast and keep tuning in. Don't pick a niche. Identify people who are in a transition. So what's a transition? We've all been through transitions. It might be when we graduate from college and have our first job. It might be getting married, opening a store, or launching a community. All of these are transitions in people's lives. And a transition is a transition if it's how am I helping somebody go from point A to point B? Woo! Hey, I'm Gina Bianchini, and this is People Magic, where I show you the most interesting and easiest ways to create a $1 million community. Let's go ahead and dive in.
Hey Gina, I feel like I'm always being told that I've got a niche down, but you're saying to do something different, find a transition. Why should I pivot and do what you're saying? How is finding a transition going to help me?
It's a great question. So just a little backstory. So I started teaching community design, and I've taught it at this point to over 10,000 people, all with that same goal of figure out who your ideal member is. This is the person who wants and needs your community the most right now. And that it's super important that you find a niche, in part because what I was seeing was that too many people were showing up and for all the right reasons wanted to be welcoming and inclusive and really think about, oh my gosh, how does my community serve all of the people that this idea around, industriousness, or around operating with integrity, or around how to achieve your goals, to set up and do masterminds with people who are on the same path. As we think about all of those opportunities, what tends to happen is that the first cut that you make at launching a community, your ideal member, the people that you want to attract to your community up front, it feels too narrow. What you see from me and from other people was you've got to pick a niche. Why? Because when you do, people see themselves in what you are offering. And if they don't see themselves in what you are offering, that's okay. Because when you are specific enough with a niche, they see people that they know. So they're like, oh, wait a second. I'm not a person in this niche, but I know somebody who is. So the more that you niche down, the easier it is for you to get members. So here's the problem with niching down. Nobody knows what it means. Nobody knows what it means. So I would see all of these incredibly smart people, incredibly motivated, aspiring community builders, and they would get stuck on the first step. And the first step being like, who is your community for? It's made a huge difference for hosts, or what we call our customers at Mighty Networks, the people who are creating communities that then are monetized with memberships or courses or challenges or events. And members, because if members can more clearly see that a community is for them, they're more likely to join. Or if they see that it's for somebody that they know, who they know is like in that particular niche, they're more likely to recommend your community. Works out great, except for the fact that nobody knows what's a niche. They don't know when they have it. They don't know when they don't have it. And so I figured out something that has worked extraordinarily well. I'm not blowing smoke here when I say that the concept's gone viral, because it kind of has, which is don't pick a niche. Identify people who are in a transition. So what's a transition? We've all been through transitions. It might be when we graduate from college and have our first job. It might be getting married. It might be having your first kid. It might be moving to a new town. It might be picking up an instrument, opening a store, or launching a community. All of these are transitions in people's lives. And you know a transition is a transition if it's, how am I helping somebody go from point A to point B? Before they can do this, after they can do this. And what I've found is that if you are trying to figure out how to make your life really easy when you're creating a community and monetizing it through those four ways that I mentioned a moment ago, you really want to just start with a transition by geography or demographic, psychographic, behavior. Get as specific as you can, and then be really clear about what that transition is. If you think in terms of transitions, you are going to be set up for success in ways that if you're just kind of fuzzy in niches, it's just going to be really, really hard to get over that first step. It's the first step. It's the most important step. And I have just found and gotten tremendous feedback from people that when you start with a transition, everything gets easier. But what about once people are through that first transition? Aha! I'm so glad you didn't ask that question, but I'm going to answer it anyways, which is, it's a beautiful thing when you have somebody who started in one place, is now through that transition in another place, because you now have two interesting opportunities. Opportunity one is getting more people into the first transition. You now know it works, and you feel much more confident in terms of, okay, how do I get people from point A to point B? And by the way, we have a step-by-step process for doing that. It's in the masterclass. Go ahead and grab it. See it in the beginning of this podcast, but just go back and have a look. We'll put it in the show notes. But then also, you've got another transition, because all of those people who just made it through the first transition have another transition that they are excited to tackle next. Human beings are constantly in transition. That's what makes life beautiful and vivid and interesting and fun. Even when it's tackling tough challenges or things that have happened that are really bad, it is easier and better and much more meaningful to go through those things together with other people. It is what gives us energy. It's what helps us power through. and ultimately get to the other side of a transition. I am a passionate believer in starting with transitions. And as much as a niche is an amazing thing, and if you nail it the first time, it's wonderful. If you're starting from scratch, or, you're struggling and your business isn't exactly working the way you want it to, it typically is because your niche is not clear enough. Your ideal member, that person who wants or needs your community the most right now, where right now is all caps, is just not clear enough. And the single easiest way of making something clear is by choosing a transition. This is also a place that you start narrow and you can always go broad later. If you try to go broad too early, no one's going to show up, because they don't know if your community is for them or not. The number of people who do not like that answer is very high, because there's something that feels like, to some, kind of icky in being exclusive. The flip side is, you don't want to have a party and have no one show up. So this is super important to get right. And you are so much better off choosing a transition. It doesn't even have to be a transition that you've been through. That certainly makes it more natural and easier to get your head around, but it doesn't have to be a transition that you have been through. Your role is valuable because you are the organizer, you are the host, because you are introducing people who are on the same path to each other. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to raise your hand and say, I'm putting this together so that you are able to effectively navigate a transition that you're probably pretty motivated to navigate. When we are embarking on transitions, we are the most motivated. We are the most motivated to meet people. We are the most motivated to try new things. We are the most motivated to dive in head first and navigate it effectively. Like, that is what we are trying to do. That is the whole point. So the example I love to use is, when you go to a new city, or when you move to a new city, whether it's temporarily or whether it's for the long term. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I've spent time in a new place, I go out, I meet friends of friends. I am like always trying to sort of figure out how to get the most out of that city. And then I come home, or I'm in a place that I'm really comfortable, and I'm like, I could go out, or I could meet this new person, or I could do exactly what I did last night and the night before and the night before that. So that's the way you want to think about finding motivation. You find it through people who are embarking on, or hungry or ambitious for, transitions. And you see this really, really concentrated way in professional networks, in health, in wellness, in new activities, in businesses, which is a variation of professional networks. Those are some of the places, if you're curious where to start, where you can start. But it's really a transition that you feel excited about bringing people together, excited to talk to people about it, excited to go deep with other people about it. That's really where you can find that sweet spot and really just make it super easy for you to get started. I'm Gina Bianchini. Thanks for tuning into People Magic, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for being a part of People Magic. If you want more of a deep dive in any of these topics, but certainly having the framework of People Magic Profit, head on over to the website. The link is in the show notes. Have your own burning question about creating People Magic? Well, I want to answer it. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to just drop your question in the review section wherever you're listening to this podcast, and keep tuning in. My prediction for the next 12 months, groups are going to become significantly more valuable. Group coaching should be at the top of your offering, not the bottom. And while it may not be today, in the near future, the faster you can move to curating people, offering your frameworks to a group as opposed to one-on-one individual consulting or coaching, the faster you're going to grow, the more value you're going to provide, and candidly, the more rewarding it's going to be. Hey, I'm Gina Bianchini, and this is People Magic, where I show you the absolute easiest way to create a $1 million community. Let's go ahead and dive in.
You've said that group coaching programs should be more expensive than individual coaching and consulting, but that feels wrong to me and different from every experience I've had this far.
Yes. So, first of all, this is controversial. This is controversial. We have been taught through social media, through the kind of worship of the individual, that the way to create successful businesses is to be the hero, to be the teacher, to be the person who has the expertise or all of the answers. So what happens in this world where you're a creator and you are an expert in X topic is that there is essentially the sense that you're creating a pyramid with you at the very top having all of the answers, you being the expert, which means that somebody who gets to have one-on-one coaching or consulting with you would pay the most for that, because they're going to get your full undivided attention. Well, if your attention and your focus on them is the most valuable thing, how do you actually have a less expensive offering or a less expensive plan that is for more people? Well, by definition, it's my partial attention. Again, if we think about this in terms of a pyramid, my partial attention is still very valuable, but you should get less of it. And then you have to share my attention with other people in a group coaching program. So you've got, consulting or one-on-one experience with that expert. And then underneath it, at a less expensive level, you have got group coaching. There's one flaw in this. There's a couple flaws in this. But what we know about people is that a pyramid's the wrong way to think about it. A pyramid is just wrong, because I might have an expertise. I have an expertise in how to build a community. But where my expertise becomes so much more valuable is when I can use it to bring together people on the same path who are each building their own community and learning from each other in how they're applying the basic principles that, for example, I've offered with People Magic and People Magic Profit. So now all of a sudden, the person who is participating in a more active network or a more active community is getting not just my expertise, but how 10 or 20 or 30 people are applying it, where they're running into problems, how they're overcoming solutions, how they're applying it to all of these paid memberships or paid courses or paid challenges or events. That is so much more valuable. You've gone from one person and one person's ideas to being able to cherry pick things that you can learn from more people. So this idea that creators need to live at the top of the pyramid and have all the answers, I think is fundamentally wrong. And it's fundamentally wrong as clients or customers or members, just as it is in terms of the offer that you're putting out there in the world as that creator. While it may feel like having my undivided attention or a creator or expert's undivided attention on your specific business or your specific challenge, you could lean on them more and it's more valuable. I don't actually think that that's true. Just take the example of the concept of a mastermind group. These are incredibly lucrative. They're incredibly important. Again, talk about people paying attention to what they pay for. Masterminds are very expensive, or there's organizations that have small groups of professionals, like something called YPO, or Young Presidents Organization. These are people who have businesses that are worth over $10 million. And once a month, they get together with 8 to 10, 8 to 12 fellow CEOs and talk about what they are navigating at this point in time. Those are examples not of group coaching, but of elevating the stories, experiences, and ideas of other members as the value proposition. So instead of thinking about one-on-one is the most expensive, I got to do one-on-one, and then I'm going to have group coaching that I'm going to tell everybody is less expensive and therefore less valuable. I'm going to think about it in a different way, which says, okay, my value proposition is the framework that I can create and the people that I can bring together who are applying that framework. And maybe I have a baseline membership that isn't very expensive because I am offering a larger group of people that you can meet and more self-service if you think about it. So I think what's going to happen in more and more communities or networks, we're certainly building this out on Mighty Networks. Software is going to do a fantastic job of connecting the most relevant members to each other in that kind of membership, so that I will still kind of offer the framework as the creator or as the host, but more people are going to be able to find each other and apply those concepts or that framework to what they're trying to build. And that's going to be really valuable. So I'll be able to charge a premium. I get asked this a lot. Do you ever do one-on-one coaching, or can I hire you as a consultant? And my response is, I'm more valuable to you as the curator of 5 other people who are exactly at your point, navigating the exact same transition. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some time for us to be able to have one-on-one conversations. But what I'm really going to do is make sure that even in the cases where I offer one-on-one time and one-on-one coaching, it's going to be in the context of 5 or 6 or 8 other people who you can also lean on, that you can also learn from. And I'm going to charge a premium to anything that I would do one-on-one. Now, I know somebody just jumped to the conclusion of like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Nobody's going to buy my group program that's more if they can get me for a lower price. Here would be my answer to that. Don't offer one-on-one time. Don't offer one-on-one coaching. Sometimes it feels like that's the right thing to do because you want to get started right away. Fine. Start with that. But as quickly as you can, move to a model where you are highlighting that the value is not just you. The value is you as someone who can unlock a framework for a group of people, and that being a member of that group means you're sharing your stories, your experiences, your ideas with each other so that that group can get better results. And then guess what happens? That group can get better results. They're probably going to bring more people in. And I now have a much more scalable business because my one-on-one time that I was using for one-on-one consulting or one-on-one coaching is now much more scalable. I'm able to learn and be more hands-on with that smaller curated group, curated being the value. It's really the value. And I'll get to one thought on that in a moment. But curation is the value. So if I could invest more of my time in the curation and being able to teach 5 people at one time and having them apply and learn these things together, the whole group is going to be more successful, myself included. Now compare that to what one-on-one means. One-on-one means I'm probably answering the same questions over and over again. I'm getting paid more money to do it, But is that really the way that I'm going to be able to build a scalable network business, a scalable business that puts at its core this concept of people magic, which provides that kind of momentum or flywheel or network effect, whatever you want to call it. The point is that by unlocking people, every member of that group is going to get more value than anything that I can offer them one-on-one. That is a very different way of thinking than that pyramid that exists for many creators and many experts today. One scales, one does not scale. One can be invigorating and rewarding and interesting and where you're going to learn watching how people are applying it. And the other will be deadening because you are just answering the same question over and over and over and over and over again. Hopefully you're sitting here at this point and you're saying, okay, Gina, I get it. I'm in. I'm going to create that kind of mastermind. I'm going to create those kinds of connections at the membership level. Where are the gotchas? This is really important. How you curate a group, whether that's a mastermind, whether that's a small group, whether that's even self-organizing groups within your larger membership. You want to make sure that you are finding with great precision who can help each other. And it may not just be, oh, they're in the same geography or they're the same level of business. It might also be stylistically. And there are ways that we can help you with software get to and uncover those things. So you don't have to actually interview every single last person. Now, today, you might still want to interview every person if you're charging $17,000 or $27,000 for that kind of very high-end mastermind. And by the way, if you hear those numbers and you're like, Gina, what are you talking about? No one should be paying that. Well, if you're running a $500,000 business and you are ready to level up to $1 million, you're probably really happy to invest $17,000 or $27,000 in a mastermind where you will be able to accelerate that goal, accelerate that result because you're learning from the stories, experiences, and ideas of that creator or expert and the people that they have brought together who are on the same path. So the precision of grouping people or clustering people, that is a place where software like what we're building at Mighty Networks is going to increasingly get more and more compelling. It's going to make it easier and easier to bring a curated group of people together who have the same intentions, who are at the same level of activation, activity, intention, motivation. And also, software is going to be able to increasingly help play the role of building the culture that hopefully is going to take some of those people that talk all the time and dial them back, and take some of the people who probably have a phenomenal story to tell, but are a little bit more of a lurker or a little shyer, and bring them in. This is all research and development and things that are happening behind the scenes in our R&D lab at Mighty Networks. And it's going to get better and better, which means creating a membership, investing your energy as a creator, not in the same one-on-one coaching, answering the same exact questions, but rather looking at yourself as a host or a curator who is bringing people to results and transformation that they cannot get on their own over the course of time, because you are bringing them together with allies and people who are on that same path, navigating that same transition. It is night and day what you're going to be able to charge, how you're going to be able to grow, and ultimately the testimonials that you are going to have from your members who are getting results and transformation that they would never get from the same one-on-one sessions with you. Practicing curation, having events, being able to curate a group of people and really think about what makes a group tick. How does a group go together to higher and higher heights? And what are the things that can get in its way? I'll finish on this last point, which is in the world of social media, there's this sense, because we look at people from the outside on an individual by individual basis. We see somebody who is creator is a singular. They have an account for a person. And we talk regularly about, people want to follow people. People want to hear from people. It creates the facade, creates the sense that everybody is just producing content and the quality of their content is what elevates them to the highest heights of followers. The truth, every single person that you see with more than, call it 20,000 followers has gotten there because they are on a group text thread with other people who are on the same path with the same goal, the same transition of not having a social media following to having a massive social media following. Nobody is getting there by themselves. They are getting there because they are coordinating with a small group of people behind the scenes who are relatively at the same level. And they're all figuring out together how they can create a network of comments of, wow, that's a great point. Wow, that's really interesting. So that their followers can see this other person and that other person's followers can see this person. It is coordinated. It is community. So when you start with community, you also have more and more people to be able to create a bigger and bigger footprint. That's why I got a lot of people following me on at least one social media platform. But that same concept of curating people and giving and asking that we're talking about as it relates to creating a network, creating momentum, creating a business that grows itself through the power of this type of people magic. That is something each and every one of us who is seeking results and transformation can take to heart and think first about how to create a small group or a network of people on the same path. So my prediction for the next 12 months, groups are going to become significantly more valuable. Group coaching should be at the top of your offering, not the bottom. And while it may not be today, in the near future, the faster you can move to curating people, offering your frameworks to a group as opposed to one-on-one individual consulting or coaching, the faster you're going to grow, the more value you're going to provide, and candidly, the more rewarding it's going to be. So with that, I'm Gina Bianchini. This is People Magic, and I will see you next time. Thank you for being a part of People Magic. If you want more of a deep dive in any of these topics, but certainly having the framework of People Magic Profit, head on over to the website. The link is in the show notes. Have your own burning question about creating People Magic? Well, I want to answer it. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to just drop your question in the review section wherever you're listening to this podcast and keep tuning in. Hi, I'm Gina Bianchini, and this is People Magic, where I am going to show you the easiest path to a $1 million paid membership. How am I going to do it? By answering your questions. Community in and of itself has just become this catch-all phrase that doesn't necessarily mean what a lot of people think it means, which for a lot of people, it's the audience. It's I talk out at you, you talk back at me, and no one's talking to each other. If you go back to first principles, you go back to like, okay, what is it that creates value in this world? Content's like third or fourth down the list. We as human beings are not meant to just consume content all day long. We've got content that is for entertainment. We've got content we're supposed to consume for education. We've got content that we are supposed to consume for professional purposes, personal wellness, all this stuff. It's like, that's not why we are here. We are here because we learn from other people in relationship. And the real value is, number one, in helping people create results and transformation in their lives that they can't get on their own. Number two, it's about creating the conditions by which they can achieve those results and transformation in their lives, results and transformation they can't get on their own, from relationships that lift us up, that challenge us. People love people. People learn from other people. Now, somebody who is skeptical of what I'm saying is basically, well, isn't that my content? Isn't that why I'm here? And isn't that what my audience is learning? But actually, it's from conversation, not lectures, that we learn the most. A lecture doesn't change people's lives. Your short video doesn't change people's lives. Relationships change people's lives. Relationships, especially relationships with more than one person, relationships that are about surrounding ourselves with people who challenge us, people who point the way to better practices, more interesting habits, things that we can actually start to practice. The reason I am so motivated to talk to more and more people, even using things that I'm not the biggest fan of, like producing a bunch of content, my motivation for producing content, such as this podcast, such as our masterclass, such as essays I write or things I post, is because I want more and more people to see the opportunity that is created by not just being a member of incredible communities, but to host these incredible communities. I'm creating content so that more and more people don't start here. Everybody is trying to do that. One of the other problems of content is in business overall, you want to be doing something different in order to stand out. If you are building content and you think that you are going to charge for your content, and this is, the foundation of what the whole online course industry is based on. Well, the reality is that you're competing with so many other people for someone's time. The way to stand out in 2024 and beyond is to offer something different than content alone. This is probably the most important point that you could take away from these few minutes together, is create something different than content alone. Now, what do people value? They value progress. They value results. They value experiences. They value novelty. They value meeting new and interesting people that give them energy and inspire them and show them really specific things that they can take into their lives. But most importantly, that they are important, they are liked, they are loved. And so when we think about what is the foundation for a phenomenal business today, whether it's a digital business, in-person business, whether it's an e-commerce business, whether it's a digital products business, the hill I will die on is that bringing people together to offer them belonging, to offer them new insights from a lot of different people, not just you, is the single most important thing to invest in today and going forward. Why aren't more people doing this? Well, it is a phenomenal question that I ask myself regularly. The reason more people aren't doing this is because the technology that makes it easy to create connections between people hasn't really existed. Social media was the place to be able to go and build massive audiences, and the promise of what happens to you in your life when you have a massive audience, That has been incredibly enticing, especially as more and more of us are spending more and more of our time consuming people's content, being the fan of multiple creators. I think the number one thing that somebody under the age of 16 wants to be today, in the United States at least, is a creator, because they seem to have a killer lifestyle. They meet cool and interesting people. They are doing something with confidence and swagger that just feels right. They look good. They sound good. They seem to feel good. This is all against a backdrop of declining mental health, declining happiness, a declining sense of connection to institutions and other people, especially in the places where we live, a declining sense that our lives matter if we're not famous, if we're not a creator that has 1 million followers, or even if we are a creator with 1 million followers. And so something's not right. What I know to be true is if you look at the market capitalization, you look at what Meta is worth, you look at what YouTube or Google is worth, you look at what TikTok is worth, they are all worth so much more than anything being created by individual entrepreneurs or individual creators. And look, the fame is beautiful. It feels incredible to get messages from people that say what you shared has had a meaningful impact on my life. I get that. Now imagine being able to take that into a world that you create, that you control and can influence, that can have an impact that you just can't get through social media alone. That is the world of community. And as community shows up as paid memberships, as online courses, as challenges, and as events, you are fundamentally creating value by bringing people together. And that means something. So in this podcast, what I want to do is just talk about all of the bad advice that is out there in the world about creating digital businesses that assume content is king, because there is a role for content, but it is so much smaller than what you might think it is, or that it should be. And especially as today, the technology is getting better and better. I know this because this is what my team and I build. We build software. We call it People Magic, that is designed to make the most relevant connections between the people that you bring into a paid membership, an online course, a challenge, an event, so that they're able to get to those most valuable relationships so much faster and with so much more ease. Because that's actually been the thing that has stopped this world of creating people magic, and people magic being so much more valuable than anything you can do with content. Now, we're all kind of getting less good at people stuff. And now our opportunity is to lean on software more heavily to create the kinds of experiences that allow us to meet people that are going to have a real impact on our lives, both as members and as hosts of these incredible communities. I want to tackle your questions that are the most skeptical, that are the most conventional, that are the most, Gina, I just don't believe you. I welcome those, because creating people magic today, right now, has transformed the digital businesses, not just of those struggling with a failing online course, but with some of the biggest creators and brands in the world. And you're going to show up and say how you are different and why this won't work for you and how this is so much harder than I am suggesting it is. And the truth of the matter is, it's not. It's not because I'm sitting here and I'm some genius. It's just because I understand software and what is possible with it, and how to bring the dynamics that built Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, to you as a creator when creating your own world, where people are going to come together and then they're going to get incredible results that they're going to turn around and they're going to talk about. It is nearly guaranteed when you just follow some simple steps that when I show them to you over the course of this podcast and our free masterclass that I created called People Magic Profit, you're going to look at them and you're going to be like, is it really that easy? And the answer is yes, it is really that easy. My goal is for you to look back after you've set this up, you've invited your first members in, and you start to have that sense of impact, that sense of purpose, that increasing dollar value in your bank account. And you're going to ask yourself the question, what took me so long? Thanks for listening to People Magic. Want more of a deep dive on today's topic? Well, check out People Magic Profit, my 9-part free masterclass on how to launch your own wildly profitable paid membership and community. Do you have your own burning questions you'd like me to discuss on this podcast? Well, I want to hear them. So leave your questions in the review section and keep tuning in.